Title: The Last Pages of Liberty. The room was dark, lit only by a single flickering candle. A hasty shuffling of papers echoed off the wooden walls, the scent of ink and fear mixing in the air. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a man who had once held the ideals of liberty in his hands, now found himself staring into the abyss of betrayal. The door slammed open, and a figure emerged, face twisted with rage and disillusionment. Rousseau. Your words have torn apart this nation. You've stirred a beast you cannot control. It was a friend turned foe, one of the very revolutionaries who had claimed to be inspired by his philosophies. Outside in the streets of Paris, chaos reigned. The cries of anger, of hunger, and of desperation rose like a storm, drowning out the pleas for unity, the very
ideals Rousseau had envisioned. His heart raced, the consequences of his thoughts echoing back at him with every heartbeat. How did it come to this, he thought, as his theories of popular sovereignty now felt like iron shackles rather than liberating chains. As the weight of history pressed down upon him, Rousseau remembered the whispers that had festered in the shadows. He had seen the discontent simmering beneath the surface of the French society, the rigid hierarchy, the royal excesses, and the ignored voices of the common people. Each philosophical treatise he penned had been a spark, igniting a fire in the hearts of the oppressed. But where he had imagined illumination, a darkness had taken hold. It was not just the monarchy he had stirred, it was the very essence of
humanity's struggle for power and equality. The leaders of the revolution, emboldened by his words, had twisted them to serve their own ends. Their ambition consumed them, eclipsing the noble ideals he had so fervently espoused. Rousseau could feel the tension rising, as if the very air were charged with electricity. The revolution was no longer his child, it was a runaway beast, gnashing its teeth and threatening to tear down everything in its path, including him. It had begun with a singular moment of realization, that the voice of the people must be heard. In the depths of his study, Rousseau had penned the phrase, general will, believing it would unify the nation under a common purpose. It was more than just a concept, it was a call to action. In his mind, it would allow the
people to reclaim their sovereignty and shake off the chains of oppression. But the people, once a collective of hopeful souls, had become a mob, swayed by emotion and fervor. Rousseau remembered the day he had decided to take his theories into the public sphere, sharing them with anyone who might listen. We must act, he had declared, eyes wide with conviction, not for ourselves, but for the future. What he had not foreseen was the chaos that would ensue. With the first ink stains drying on parchment, he had unwittingly handed the reins of power to those who would interpret his words with a bloody fervor. His heart sank as he realized that he had ignited a revolution not just of the mind, but of the body, a revolution that could turn against him. Rousseau believed he was
providing a path, a blueprint for a new society founded on equality and fraternity. He envisioned a world where the voice of the people would create a government by the people, for the people. But the reality he faced was far grimmer than the ideals he had espoused. He gathered with the leaders of the revolution, proposing a plan to unite the factions fighting for change. We must present a united front, he argued. Only then can we reflect the true will of the people. However, his optimistic vision clashed violently with the harsh truths of human nature. The leaders were more interested in their own ambitions, their own power, rather than the democratic ideals Rousseau had hoped to instill. They nodded, feigning agreement, all the while plotting their own paths to authority. What
Rousseau had hoped would be a noble collaboration devolved into a power struggle, each person vying to be the most influential voice of the revolution. The illusion of unity was shattered. The night of the storm arrived. The night Paris erupted. The streets were alive, a cacophony of cries, and the pounding of boots against cobblestones. Rousseau stood by a window, his heart racing as he took in the chaos unfolding below. The sound of shouting, of violence, resonated through his very bones. Citizens, rise up! The revolutionaries howled, their voices carrying a mixture of fervor and madness. The time for change has come! Inside, the tension in Rousseau's chest grew tighter. He had not anticipated how quickly events would spiral out of his control. The cries of the people turned from hopeful demands to furious roars for blood. With every moment, the revolutionary fervor transformed, the fight for liberty beginning to tear apart the very fabric of society. Rousseau clenched his jaw, the weight of the moment crashing down upon him like a wave. This was not the world he had wanted to foster. This was not the future he had envisioned. The city burned, both literally and metaphorically, as people found themselves caught in the throes of the revolution's madness. In the days that followed, Rousseau's fears deepened. The revolutionaries, drunk on their newfound power, began to turn on anyone who opposed them, including Rousseau himself. His former allies, the very people who had once rallied behind his ideas, now pointed fingers, eager to assign blame to anyone but themselves. The betrayal cut deep.
You speak of liberty, yet you bind us with chains of your own making.
One of the leaders spat, venom lacing each word.
Your ideas have led us to this chaos. You are not our savior. You are our prison.
Rousseau felt the walls close in around him. The ideals of the general will that he had championed were being weaponized, turned against him as revolutionaries sought to consolidate their power by scapegoating the very man who had inspired them. In that moment, he realized the true cost of his decisions, the blood on his hands, the innocence lost, and the hearts now filled with hatred rather than hope. As Rousseau sat in the darkness of his room, the echoes of the revolution's cries faded into silence, leaving behind only the haunting
realization of human nature. It wasn't merely the ideas he had presented that had failed, it was the people themselves who had betrayed their potential for unity. The hunger for power consumed them, overshadowing the very principles of equality and popular sovereignty he had sought to instill. He understood then that ideals, no matter how noble, are fragile when placed in the hands of flawed humanity. Each decision is a double-edged sword, capable of cutting through the darkness or deepening it. Rousseau's journey taught him that the pursuit of liberty must be safeguarded not just by laws and constitutions, but by the very nature of the souls who wield them. In the end, Rousseau wasn't just a philosopher, he was a witness to the heights and depths of ambition, the flames of revolution, and the profound, often tragic, complexities of human nature. As the candle flickered and finally extinguished, he pondered whether the very heart of man would ever truly understand the price of freedom, or if they would remain forever destined to repeat the same mistakes. The stage had been set, the players had taken their roles, and the consequences of human decisions echoed throughout history, reminding us all of the delicate balance between power and responsibility.